Thank you for joining us today for our Navigating the Case Information section. This episode is a part of our Doobert webinar series, so I'm really glad you guys could join us, and I hope I can share some new exciting information with you guys today. So, like I said, we're going to be going over just some of the foundational concepts of the cases in CCM, kind of how they work. This is just our case information overview. So, on the left side, we have the case details section. And this is like your contact information, your case tags. And then on the right, we have our additional information. So that's going to be some more of our information that's a little bit more targeted towards the contact itself. So as you can see right here, we have our detail section and our additional info. So if we scroll down, looking at our case tags first, these are what you'll see right here. These are our tags. So they are customizable with our new tag management functionality, and you can change the color, you can delete them, add them, edit the text, anything you like. And then we also typically associate these with the important case information, interests, things of that nature. And then we have our tags about the contact, which you can see right here on this additional information tag, that are really geared towards the specific information about the contact itself. So these can be associated with pet parent information, foster parent information. No matter what kind of program you run in CCM, you can always find a way to really prioritize that information about your case contact. And then one of my favorite ways to use these is to label like availability, struggles. Say you have foster volunteers, which is kind of what we'll be covering in our demo. But I like to use those to really highlight their time away from the house. So if they're fostering, we kind of want to know if, say, they'll be gone for 5-6 hours a day, or say they work from home, or if they're employed full time, things like that. Just kind of that important key information that can be used when looking at foster preferences and things like that. So moving into our contact information, you can store phone numbers and email addresses, and with that, you can use them to really use Doobert to its full capacity and send communications based on that information. So you can send emails, text. We can create a case with the required fields. So we have case name, zip code, email, case type, and status. Those are all required to create a case, like I said, but if you're in a rush, say you're on the phone, you can just pop that information in really quickly and create your case. And then if you have the time to go back later, then you can jump back into that case and really add your description, your tags, and a lot of your more detailed information. But just to get you started, there's just a few required fields. And then if you have a text or an email that you want to send, those can be initiated through workflows. So that's why it's really, really important to include the email and phone number information of your case contact, because then you can really use Doobert to its full capacity and get into some of our automation technology as well. And then this is just one of my little tips and tricks for you guys. I personally love data. I'm a big data person, and I really like to identify like your key marketing factors, how people hear about you, and really what is the driving force within your community. So one really awesome thing you can do in the system in the contact information section is to record the source field as how that contact found your organization, whether that be Facebook, podcast, or a referral, anything like that. It's good to really identify that, because then you can run reports on really where those numbers fall. So say you get 30% of your applications or assistance requests from Facebook, or you get people who are just word of mouth referrals, things like that. So it's a really, really good way to identify some of those factors by using it. So now if we look at our previous cases and our related cases, these are some of my favorite CCM features just because it's good for organization. It's good for giving you extra context as well. So with the previous cases, you can identify any of the other cases within your organization's account that match that same email address listed in your contact information section. And the reason it pulls email address is because it is a required field. And then I really like these because it comes into play when you're juggling assistance requests and say that this email or this contact has reached out for something else previously, then you'll be able to kind of check out that case, see what they came for you with in the past, and that can kind of tailor how you're going to help them now, and just gives you a little bit extra context, and it really just helps you make an informed decision as well. So if we look at our related cases now, these are the way that you can link any other existing case to one case or another. And you can search a related case by a case ID or a case name. So typically you can use a case name if, say, there's only one of this case name in your system, but then the case ID comes in when, say, this person has 3 requests in there and you want to know that you're taking their owner surrender request rather than their foster volunteer request. So I'll kind of show you both ways you can search a related case once we get into the system as well. And these are really beneficial for identifying similarities in cases. So say you have some similar owner surrender cases, say all of the pets that were surrendered have parvo. So then you can kind of link these together and really identify that group within a case. And then you can also use it in, say, a vet care assistance case. So say all of your spay and neuters, things like that. But if we jump into our system and kind of go through all of this, I am just going to log in. So right now I'm logged in as an organization, cause for pause right now. So if I go into our companion case management tab right here and I click on our cases, right here is all of our cases. So I am just going to go through and search for the case I'm looking for. So I am going to be kind of demoing on a foster volunteer case. So I'm just going to select that one and search that. So we have Sally Sue right here. So if we open up Sally Sue's case, right here we can see that it is a new application for a foster volunteer, and we can also assign it to our team members. So anyone within your organization can have access to the account if the organization owner grants them access. So then from there you can assign them cases and give them tasks, things like that. We will be covering a little bit more of the teamwork aspects in one of our future webinars. So going into our case information section, what we all came here for. So we have our case tags right here. These, like I said, they can be customizable, colors, anything that is important to you or your organization. So with this being a foster volunteer case, I think it's important to kind of highlight what they are willing to accept as a foster. So say they can take cats, dogs, neonatal kittens, things like that. So then to add another case tag, all you have to do is just click on this text box right here and say they would like to take puppies. We can just add in one of our pre-existing ones. Or if we don't have a pre-existing one and we want to create one, we can also do the same process of adding one. So say they would be able to accept, say, pregnant cats, pregnant dogs, anything like that. We can create that, choose a color, and just click on the little plus sign. And now we have another interest or basically key information to the case. So then down here we have our case description. So this is pretty straightforward. It's where you can put any of the information about your case. So with this being a foster volunteer case, kind of their interests, we have their experience and kind of what they're comfortable and equipped to handle when fostering. And then if we want to edit any of this, we would just click on this pencil right here, and then we'll get some of these text formatting options as well, which is really great because then you can kind of bold what's important. Say they've been fostering for 5 years and we want to bold that because that's really important to us. We can definitely do that to really prioritize your focus. So then going down here into our contact information, This is where you can store basically all of your data on a case and how you'll reach out to them. So right here we have our contact name. Typically our contact name and our case name are the same if that's how you kind of want to organize your system. But some organizations like to name their cases as the pet name as well. So in that case, that's where your contact name is really important because then it lets you identify who the owner is versus who the pet is. But just looking at this example, Sally Sue is our case name and she's also our case contact right here. And then we have a phone number, we have a state, and then we can also enter the zip code. And if you don't have a zip code, just a quick workaround is all zeros. And then same goes for the email with it being a required field. If, say, you don't have their email, they don't want to provide it, none@none.com works great. And the only thing to keep in mind with that is that you can't send them a communication with that email, and the system will let you know as well. So just a couple quick things to keep in mind with that. And then preferred contact method, I always like to put this in here because I think this is great when you have, say, foster volunteer cases, because you want to really know what the best way to get in contact with them is. So depending on the case, say they want a phone call, they want a text, anything like that. And then source, this is the one I mentioned earlier about how you can really identify where your requests are coming from. So say local shelter, just a shelter in your area, things like that. Google search, really, really great for identifying your marketing factors and kind of where you are most talked about. And then we also have a date created here, and this can be backdated, forward dated, anything you'd like. So then once you edit any of this information in here, we just want to click save on that. And then now when we jump into our additional information section, we will see the case tags again. So like I said, this is a little bit more tailored to your contact itself. So with these tags about contact, I really like these for these foster volunteer cases specifically because you can kind of identify their working schedule, animals in the home, for example, say they have cats in the home, dogs in the home, anything like that that would really tailor your approach to what animals would we like to foster with them, things like that. But this can also be used for, say, your owner surrender cases. So say you have an owner surrender case where the contact is struggling with, say, a job loss or a military deployment, anything like that, that is really specific to the contact's struggles or challenges, then you can kind of highlight that specifically in the tags about the contact as well to kind of keep that information really specific, and it can also be really targeted to that contact rather than the case as a whole. So then if we look at our internal notes about the contact, this is a little bit different from the case tags just because this is for a little bit more of your broad information that you might need a few more characters for if we don't want like super long case tags. So right here, I like this because the date that they were added falls in as well. So like in this example, it's good for identifying your foster's vacations or when they're not available. And when, say, you have a pet food pantry as well, you can highlight what food they were given, when it was given, things like that. Or say your foster cases, when you give them supplies, you can also highlight that here as well. And then these two drop downs are really more tailored to the owner surrender rehoming space. But in this case, they don't really apply being a foster volunteer, but say these questions were part of an application for an owner surrender or rehoming, then these yes or no's could be checked here. And then looking at our related cases and previous cases, right here we have our case ID, which I mentioned, which can come into play when you are adding a related case. So like I said, when you have a couple different requests in your CCM account that might fall under the same name, it's really important to grab the case ID for those just so you know you're grabbing the right owner surrender case rather than their application for an adoption, things like that. So looking at our related cases, I really like these because these are where you can group your cases with similarities and really give them the visibility in each case. So if we look at our related cases here, we have two. So if I click on Sarah Smith's case, this is going to take me to my other foster volunteer case that I have created. And I grouped them together just because they both involve foster volunteers and applications. So right here, we'll see it looks really similar. And if we go into the additional information in this one looks a little bit different just because we have our case tags about their employment or how long they're away from home a day. So say they work from home. And then we also have a few internal notes here as well, just to kind of give you some different examples of how they can be used. So then when we move into adding a related case, what we can do is just click on this add button, and then we can search a case by name, or we can put that ID in. So if I just want to search one of mine and add this one in, I can do that right there. And then now we can link into this case as well once we've added that. So yeah, just a really, really great resource for organizations to kind of keep track of their similarities and really common cases. So then if we move into our previous cases, this is where we can really identify the cases that have the same email address under them. So for example, you're getting a request 1 month for an owner surrender or a rehoming, and then the next month we get an adoption inquiry from that same contact. It kind of gives you a little bit more context to make your educated decisions as an organization and give you some more context on how you've helped that contact in the past as well. So looking at that, all of the cases under that same email address are going to show here, like I said. And one quick thing I do want to mention before we jump into our Q&A is that we do have our new tag management functionality that I'm excited to share with you guys just really briefly, because I think it pertains to this case information really strongly. So if we go into our sidebar right here and we go to our shortcuts tab, and we click on our manage tags right here, this is where we're going to be able to see all of our case tags that we have. So we can also see the color, and we can edit the color, check out how many times they've been used, edit them, delete them, create new tags as well, search them, anything like that. But just a good place to check out all your tags and kind of clean them up if you get a lot in your system, things like that. But just thought I'd mention it because it is a really great resource when we are looking at the case information section, because that is where a lot of our case tags do live. So now we're going to jump into our Q&A. So with this, like I said, we take a couple questions that we receive a lot to our help@Doobert.com email, or questions that we receive during a demo, things like that. And we round them up, and if they pertain to this lesson, we really like to go over them, highlight them, and give you guys some additional context. So our first question is, how do I create a case? So that's a really great question, and I think this really plays hand in hand with the case information section. So I'm just going to go over it really briefly because we are going to be doing another webinar on how to manually create that case and get into a little bit more detailed information. But just to show you, if I go into our companion case management tab right here and I click on cases, I am just going to click on this little plus sign right here. And what we can do right here is put in our case name, our case status, case type. These can be changed if you click on the drop down. So say this is an applicant status, and then our case type is going to be, say, a foster boarding case. And this is where you can really put in some of your details about the case, sorry. And but if we're just looking at kind of getting through a case created quickly, if we only put in our case name, so say we'll create one for myself, we have our case name, our case status, type. We don't have to put in a description because it's not required unless we want to. And then contact name, case address, phone, email, once I put in my email address, I put in my state, my country, and then I can also just pop in a zip code. The 5 zeros works. And so now what we can do is once we have all of our required information in here, we can just click save. And then we have a created case now. So from here, we can go in and add our case tags. We can add any animals, tasks, files, activity log, anything like that. And then we can even go into our additional information here and put some more information in. So just a little bit of background information on what goes into creating a case. And then our next one is, where do I use contact information to send communications? So that's another really, really great question. So within a case, you can send an email or text, hence this button right here. So we have an email address in here. So if I click on send email or text, I can go through here and pop a subject line in, add a little bit of information in the body of the text right here. I can even attach a file and I can click send. So for example, this can be a welcome email, anything like that. So we can say welcome to Doobert. And then we can say something like our team will be reviewing your application shortly, or an accepted or denied, anything like that. So we can say our team will be reviewing your application shortly. And then we can click send. So now we just sent that contact an email and we can see our conversation log right here as well. And so for our next question, we have what happens if there is an invalid phone number or email address. So that's a really great question as well, just because if the phone number or email address is invalid, that will block the communication from being sent to that contact. So what will happen if we go into our case and I pop in an invalid phone number? So now we will see right here in the red that this phone number cannot be sent a text to because it is invalid. So just a quick way that it'll let you know. And same goes for emails. It won't send an email. If it bounces, it'll come back as a red exclamation point, red dot if you're on the cases list. Just letting you know that this case is something that needs your attention and just something that basically needs to be updated in order for that case to be communicated with. And then our next one is, can I run reporting on contact information? That's a really good question as well, because that plays into what I talked about with source and kind of how you can report, because I know a lot of our organizations like to run reporting on the addresses, zip codes, cities, states that they receive assistance requests from to kind of identify where the majority of their community is coming from. So on Doobert, we have some free reporting options, and then we also have some more customized reporting options available on our Pro plan. So in order to run reports on your contact information, we are going to go into our reporting tab, which is right here. I'm just going to click on that and choose Companion Case Management Reporting. And what we're going to be able to do here is change our reporting fields, which I said this is available on our Pro plan, but we also have a free reporting option as well, where you can also get contact information. But this one is just a little bit more tailored and specific to what you choose. So if I click change fields right here, I can remove everything that's currently selected, and I can go through and choose any fields that I want to run a report on. So say we want to run reporting on contact information. We can go down here and select their contact name, contact address, city, zip code. And then we can click add. And now we can run a report. And now we can see where all of our cases have an address of and their zip code, city, everything like that. And one more question that we have is, where do I sign up as an organization on Doobert? So that's a really great question. So if we go over to the Doobert homepage, it's just Doobert.com. And right here, we're going to be able to sign up as just me, which would be a volunteer, or we can sign up as an organization. So for your organizations, you can just click on this sign up button and start filling out your application. And we typically approve requests within 3 days or so. So definitely do that if you have not already, if you like what you saw today. But other than that, that is all I have for you guys, and I'm really glad you were able to join me for this webinar on the case information section, and I hope to see you in future webinars. Have a great rest of your day.